Welcome in. I'm Janelle, and this is the Janelle Art Channel. I've got a couple of projects stacked up here on the workbench. I've cut some squares for our backgrounds that we use on the Pebble paintings. Here's just a quick reminder of the Pebble paintings. If you've been here before, you know we make these in kind of in bulk. I guess that's maybe one way to describe it. And in various sizes from about 2.75. Usually I work in a 3-inch square, sometimes a 4-inch or a 6-inch square. And I like to take time and just sort of do a bunch of these so that when I come to the task of doing mindfulness paintings or drawings, I've just got an assortment to select from. Cricket Cinema, welcome in. It's so nice to see you. So nice to see you. How you doing? Hanging in there, I hope. So I've got that going. I'm going to start with that, and then I've got a new tube of paint. Some Daniel Smith PrimaTek, and that line is made from all kinds of things. My other tube of it was Minnesota pipestone. There's tiger's eye and just things that are maybe semi-precious gems. But let's get tucked in. So as I've been painting recently, I've been a little frustrated because I've got paint over all of I must have half a dozen palettes here. And I hate to waste paint because, as you see, it just takes a little dab to make a background. So when there's just a tiny dot in the palette, I'm loath to just rinse it out because I know that'll make some art. So I just had stuff kind of stacking up, and I had decided that tonight's the night to get in, and we'll just crank through some of these, get the palettes cleaned off, and then we'll have a nice fresh palette so we can mix up some of that Zoisite Genuine with other colors. And let me just give you a little teaser of that. The Zoisite on its own is this, well, I would describe it as a drab gray-green. And when mixed with some dioxazine violet, it ended up looking like amethyst. And with, I think we had Prussian blue with that one, which Prussian blue tends to go very dark, and it came up this lovely robin's egg blue. Daniel Smith Aussie Red Gold came up almost an amber color, and we've got a peridot color here by mixing with the Lucas yellow. So I was just really flabbergasted by what this paint did, and I loved how it granulated to the edges, and I thought, boy, that's going to work great for the rocks. So I couldn't wait to mail order it. I went down to the local art supply store and paid twice what I would if I mail ordered it. And that's okay. That's okay. We can support small business. So I'm reading what you shared, Cricket Cinema, and I'm just sending all of this out to you. I'm so sorry. And I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that spending a little time here will give you a little respite from that sort of thing. Just, it's never good, but it always seems to sting a little bit harder when it comes in this time of year. So you certainly have my sympathy and well wishes for that to be lifted. So are you without transportation now because of that? Hope that you've got some sort of a backup transportation or some other way to get around. I was out and about seeing to some health-related things myself today, and as I was at the doctor's office, I saw somebody who arrived in medical transport, and oh, the driver was dropping their chair in the parking lot, and I was so full of gratitude that I've managed to keep my car on the road this year. Not easy. Well, that was quick work. We've gotten one pallet cleaned out. Yeah, it looks like yours truly is going to get another trip through cardiac rehab. And I'll take that. That's better than another cardiac procedure. For sure, for sure. But it wasn't anything I found too thrilling to hear, I'll tell you that much. But I came with a whole list of instructions about things I've got to shift and change, and got to cut down on the stress. It's showing up in the lab results, so alrighty. I think it's more fun if you guys get to see the palette. Let me just scooch this over here a little bit. It's some lovely blues and greens mixed up. Whew. Boy, we've got moody lighting. That's a little better. I was tidying up the workstation earlier this week, and I ran across my little travel box for watercolor and found this nice little camel brush. It's a mop, but it's a nice small one, and it picks up a lot of water, a lot of paint. So I pulled it out of the travel box because I can't remember the last time I took the paints out for a walk. I do like how it gets that pigment on in sort of blobbier pools, puddles, and then nice light washes. These will be fun to work with when they dry down. All right. Hello out there, people. I see you out there. Welcome in. I want to encourage anybody who's watching to feel free to drop a little. Love to talk about art supplies. We love to talk about anything that uplifts each other and encourages art practice or craft wherever you're at, artist or beginner level. If you've got any questions about what you're seeing or just drop in some more of this dark. This beautiful dark color is the another PrimaTek color. It's Zoisite Genuine, and it is a granulating color, meaning when you get some nice amounts of water on it, it will puddle and move and create its own wonderful grainy, gritty effects. I'm gonna cheat and get into the pan a little bit. I really like that one. When I first got into that paint stick on the end, it was really gray, but as I cut off a section and dropped it into a half pan, I've noticed that there's more of the blue pigment. And it reminds me of, a good pair of denim jeans, that beautiful, deep indigo color. But it's not so dark that it covers the paper. It's got a beautiful translucency to it, and I'm just enjoying working with that Zoisite Genuine so much. Yeah. Good. Cricket says that he's been learning to video edit, and it's the thing that's been a good distraction this week. I do find that, I think because I can be physically quiet in a lot of ways, but mentally very active when I'm working on art projects. And of course, that's not going to be true of everything. If you're a weaver, you're going to be physically very active. Or if you're spinning wool or, linens, anything that you're spinning, that's going to require some physical movement. But stuff like watercolor painting, you can come quietly to your workbench and you don't have to be physically super fit or in great condition to enjoy what's going on. I don't have this framed very well, do I? So, that's part of why I highly recommend an art practice is something that can give you a little mental relief and help you get through the week when things are heavy. Even when they're not. I mean, it's good maintenance. I was a person who was, I was artistic from probably before I was verbal. Loved to spend time in my little room with my construction paper and scissors and glue and crayons and any art supply that I could be given. And I had a grandmother who was a painter, so when I got gifts from her for the various occasions, would almost always be some bit of art supply, some broken sticks of charcoal or a bit of this or that. And art continued to be part of just who I was. It's just how I expressed myself in the world. But being a kid in the 60s and 70s, people said, you got to stop playing. You need to find a job. You need to find something that is going to make you some money. And going through life and working and having trained myself in another profession that didn't require much art at all, I found later that when I became disabled, the thing that persisted was the artistic expression. The stuff that fell away was the training to make myself a living. So if you're in a position to encourage a young person, please don't ever tell them you can't make a living at that. That's not what your life is going to be about. For some of us, we're born knowing what our drive is, and maybe we're lucky to stumble onto a media. You might paint and just go, boy, that's not for me. And you might be right, but I encourage you to keep going because maybe your medium is knitting. Maybe it's dance, or stained glass, or glass blowing, or pottery. I mean, there's so many different media out there, all different ways to be expressive. And if you find you're not really good at this or that, one, you haven't practiced enough. Everything looks a little wonky until you practice, even if it is your medium. And two, I think maybe you just haven't found your media. So, hi, Leslie. Oh, are they clearing up? Or are they? Oh dear. Yeah, can anybody else give me a little feedback and see if maybe Leslie's buffering? Because I'm not getting any indicators on my end, but we have had terrible trouble with audio trouble in YouTube all week. Leslie says she was working with fluorescent gouache, cleaning out her palettes. And Cricket shares that he is. Oh, Leslie, I made an assumption there. Correct me if I'm incorrect. So Cricket wants to try a loom. It's interesting, isn't it? I haven't had much chance to work on a big loom. I had a friend who was very much a fiber artist, and we spent a lot of time in her studio working, helping get the warp onto a loom. That is something that helps to have two people to do, so. But I've worked on tabletop looms, and I've used looms with beadwork as well. Right. So it looks like we've got the sound going okay. I know I was speaking quickly, and sometimes that just seems to flummox the YouTube, whatchamacallit. So I will make some efforts to not dive ahead full speed. It's surprising. It looks like there's just nothing left there, and it's just enough to put a lovely wash onto a little scrap of paper. And I love blue-greens, so I will not turn away from a piece that starts out with some sea glass colored blue-greens. Enough. Good. Gotta let go of the old sometimes, make way for some fun new things. I've got this one too. I don't know if I can even, I might just take that one straight to the sink. Just not inspired by that. Looks like Valentine's Day to me. So thanks everybody for coming in here and spending time. I really appreciate you so much. I appreciate Replay Crew too. I like to think about I like to wonder, were people inspired? Did they go off and dig into their art supplies? And I hope so. That's an interesting. I've been struggling to embrace reds because if you see my palette, I have an abundance of reds and orange, and they are just, I love them in the tray. When I get them on the paper, they just seem, but they work, each necessary if you're painting flowers. So that's one of the other things I do is I paint some flowers. And I managed to inherit quite a stash of some watercolor paints. So apparently my grandmother was very fond of alizarin crimson because I think there must have been 5 tubes of different brands, and it's a bit of a fugitive pigment, so I steer away from it, but some mixes are beautifully. Get a beautiful, deep, hot pink cast to it that's just gorgeous while it's here. I'm going to cheat this one with a little bit of quinacridone yellow. That quinacridone just never fails to surprise me with how it blooms into a lovely golden puddle there. See that camel mop just so absorbent. It wicks that water right up off the paper. Jessica Lynn, hello. Nice to see you in the chat. What's new in your world? What's going on? Aw, thank you. I am cranking out some backgrounds because, I like when I do my regular stream, I do like to kind of finish things up with a quick pebble drawing, and I noticed that I'd been digging into the basket. There's not very many blanks, so I thought I would do two things: clear the palettes and prep some background. And then the second half of the stream, I've got a tube of uh, Daniel Smith Zoisite Genuine, and we're just gonna play with that a little bit more. That's this kind of funky gray green one, but it's got a beautiful, very, very fine grained granulation. And when it's mixed with other colors, it makes these gemmy, semi precious gemstone colors that are just really making my brain very happy and excited. So we'll get to that in a bit. Once I just needed to have a clean palette so I could get some other colors out and we could work cleanly with that. I thought it was worth the effort, so that's what we've got going. Oh, oh, I'm so glad you're starting to feel better. I've heard so many people lately say that they were down with something like a flu or a bit of a bug of some kind. And my theory is that that's just the stress of getting ready for the holidays, and we can have a considerable amount of anticipatory feelings about what might happen and what we want to have happen, and it's really taxing to our immune systems when we're in that state of elevated stress. So it's important to do those things, engage in the habits that fortify you, whether it's mindfulness, a little bit of art practice, a little bit of getting outside, taking a walk if you're not someplace where it's absolutely blustery weather. I got outside today. I parked my car and I walked to the art supply store. So, in my world, that counts as exercise. I'm still just struggling to come back after having the 6 stents put in my heart this spring, and I talked to the cardiologist about everything today and went to the art supply store as a reward for getting myself to the doctor appointment. But it looks like I'm getting sent back to do cardiac rehab again, which is about 3 times a week. You go into what looks like an exercise studio. It's got equipment suitable for people who've had heart procedures, treadmills and recumbent bikes and things like that. And they hook us up to a heart monitor and then try to get us worked up to 30 minutes of exercise. And if there's any kind of cardiac symptoms, it shows up on the monitor. So there's a sort of a central desk with nurses, and they've come over and shut your treadmill off and make you breathe until your heart rate comes back into a good range. So it's a safe way to try to get back to physical activity. And I had really struggled in the months up to my procedure. I was telling the doctors I finally just got really melodramatic, and I just did 2 things. One, I took an old white man with me to the appointment to vouch for what I was saying. That finally seemed to break through and get me listened to a little bit. And then I also said, they said, "How are you?" "I feel like I'm dying." That's what I finally just took it to that level and just went, this is what it is. Like, I wake up at night thinking, am I going to see the sun come up? And that is the reality of what I was experiencing, but it's somewhat challenging to just say that out loud to somebody, and it just feels like they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Um, and then, he kind of rolled his eyes and he went, well, I guess your insurance will pay for an angiogram, so we'll go do it. Nah. And midway through the angiogram, he stopped the procedure because it was really apparent that it was pretty messed up situation up in there. So much so that they had to put 6 stents in me. And like I'm there going, yeah, I told you guys. did I been telling you? But it can be a challenge to get listened to anyway. So cardiac rehab for my trouble. That's what'll be on for the new year. Okay, well, that immediately went ugly. I'm going to set it aside because sometimes when it's ugly wet, it's okay dry. If you've been around, you've seen me do these pebble drawings on just about some of these backgrounds. You'll look at me just, how can you make art out of that? And you just get into it, you get the pen going, and art appears. So don't be afraid of ugly. It just needs another color. It just needs another wash. If it's batik, maybe it just needs another dye bath. It's all good. Ooh, that one's dark and mysterious. I like that. Yeah, so advocate for yourself. Take care of yourself. Be persistent. If you can get an old white man to come in and vouch for you when you need it, just do whatever it takes. You don't think that didn't piss me off, though. I think it's just sometimes it's probably hard for people to understand what I'm saying because I'm autistic and my face doesn't usually match or reflect what's going on, so it can be confusing to look at my face and then reconcile that with the words. I don't know what the deal was. No face is here for no particular reason. Well, that is an existential conundrum, is it not? It's good to see you, and I'm glad you're here. Yeah, are you here for to hang out with some friends and to just get a little bit of this for you and your effort in life and the days? So I'll just throw out an encouraging thumbs up to you, my friend. Ooh. Can you guys see this color? I like it. This poor palette's been sitting over there ignored for a month, and I'm looking at these colors and I'm thinking, why didn't I? They're so beautiful. Why wasn't I playing with them? I feel badly for ignoring them. Gonna sneak a little of this Zoisite Genuine graphite blue into this. It's a granulating color that is containing black PBK 10, which is actually graphite, as in graphite that goes into pencils. So when it dries down, it's got an interesting property we can burnish it and bring up a bit of a gleam to it. It's probably not anything that's archival or artist quality, but for these sketches, it works just fine. And I put a layer on one a little bit earlier today. Let's see if I got enough on here for us to get that burnish effect. So at first glance, it seems to be sort of a dark neutral gray. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, No Face says his roommate is watching Paddington Bear. Oh, so do you see there's a little bit of gray that's coming up? Oh yeah. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, but there is just a very subtle gleam. So now we can have some shiny rocks. If you're going to use this is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi graphite colors. It comes in a set of 6. I think there's graphite yellow, blue, red, violet, green. So I noticed when I used it and burnished it, of course that graphite goes all over, but a quick erasing cleans up the white areas nicely and doesn't seem to lift the watercolor wash. So I think probably a more logical way to use it is to make it be the first wash of color that goes on, then erase, then lay in the other watercolor. But be sure you use a very soft eraser, because otherwise you'll lift up the fibers of the paper and then your watercolor wash will go on with a bit of a blotchy finish. Anytime you disrupt the fibers, they'll really grab the paint and you'll get a dark area. Well, there is a bit of a gleam to that. That gave a very nice effect, so snuck in a bonus art supply review there. I picked that set up for under $15 on Jerry's Art. No, not Jerry's. Dick Blick Art Materials. And wasn't sure at first. I kind of been looking at them for a couple of months, and I finally just pulled the trigger. I had an order, and I just needed a little something to put me over for free shipping. So I threw those in the basket, and wasn't sure when I first used them. But I am, the more I use them, the more ideas I have about ways to snake them in, particularly with the subject matter, with the rock and pebble paintings. So one way to get rid of red is to mix it with green. You try and be red on my paper. It will mix you into a brown submission. That kind of cherry red, that's not too bad there. I can maybe live with that. So Jessica Lynn says she loves graphite, especially graphite and watercolor. So are you using powdered graphite or graphite sticks? How do you do that? I'd love to hear more. Oh, bonus cat hair. Graphite sticks. Are Conte crayons, are those graphite sticks? Do you know? It's kind of an old-fashioned media, the Conte crayon. Pardon my shuffling here for a second. Okay. May or may not have had these since last century. So it's very lightweight. It reminds me of it's like a charcoal, but it's definitely not a charcoal. And it's got a bit of a gleam to it, so I kind of think it might be. Yeah, I think we're dealing with graphite here. So you guys weren't expecting a clown, were you? You knew. You knew it was going to be rocks, right? So let's see what happens here. Can we use a stiffer brush? We'll see if we can get it to scrub off here at all. So we think wetting the stick or we think wetting the media? We don't know. That seems to have brought virtually nothing. So let's see what happens if we get, oh, okay. It's a bit of a, well, you can tell when I'm engrossed because I stopped talking. I sometimes wake up here at the workbench and go, oh yeah, there's people. That's all right. That's flow state. And if you are able to get there in your artwork, just go. Just go with it. It's good for you. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. We just may have unlocked a new level to the whole Pebble sketching exercise. Oh, that's really nice. It gives oh, well, it doesn't want to go on over wet very much. All right, okay. I do like the mark making over the top of mixed media works, and I haven't done too much of that in the Pebble paintings, but yeah. So I haven't used these in years. I like I said, I was cleaning the art studio the other day, and I ran across a few things, and I shuffled some stuff up to the workbench, and thought, oh, I should dip into this and give it a try and see what we can make of it. And I've only ever used these for preliminary sketches. Hi, Pondfish. Yeah, thank Jessica. Jessica was talking to me about graphite, and um, I pulled out some Conte crayons, which is just a kind of an old-fashioned art supply. I think these are probably from the 1970s or 80s, this box. But they still make them. They're made in France. And I don't love charcoal. Um, it's a sensory thing, getting all of that stuff on my hands. So the Conte crayons they're a bit cleaner. I mean, it's art products. You'll get something on your hands, but yeah, let's throw in a little bit of that graphite. This is Gansai Tambi, which is Japanese watercolor, and oh boy, that went dark, didn't it? So this is graphite red, and it contains a little bit of actual graphite. PBK10 is the pigment. Well, this is a lot of fun. I think uh, we'll be seeing. Well, I'm gonna do more of this because this is. Make my heart beat a little faster with the fun of it. So, all right, let's let that dry down and we'll come back to it. Jan M, I was thinking about you today as I was sitting in my cardiologist's waiting room. Oh, I get to go through cardiac rehab again. It's like, now I see it in red, and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done it. I have blue and green also, but it's you know, it, no knocks on the red. That's pretty fun. All right, I'm not even going to put that one. I'm just going to leave that on the workbench. I'll leave that out here to play with. All right, big moppy brush and just get this last bit of paint off here. Yeah, open. Had a friend in college who I would get really wrapped around the axle, and he would just take a look at me and he would say, "You need to maintain an even strain," because of the sort of excited, you know, you burn a lot of energy, and then I would tend to crash. And he would say, "Maintain an even strain," meaning it's okay to get wound up about stuff, but maybe it's a little healthier to sort of spread that strain evenly throughout your. Well, that doesn't look like I got much pigment off of it at all. Let's go here. the world? Looks like I'm soaking up a lot of pigment, but it's not showing up on the paper. Hey! Indigo's Insights. I'm glad to see you. On Friday, huh? Okay. We do. We do. Um, oh, lovely, Jan. Let me finish Indigo before we jump into that. I want to make sure I'm keeping up with the comments. Derwent, okay. Pondfish says those are some neat pebbles. Thank you, Pondfish. Jan says first day able to drive after a new pacer, and there is so much rejoicing. Oh, I'm so happy for you. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. When I was at the cardiologist, somebody was getting dropped off by medical transport, and they dumped their wheelchair right in the parking lot in the rain, and I had a lot of gratitude, and I certainly had sympathy for them, but I had a lot of gratitude that I'm still able to drive myself where I need to go and handle that kind of stuff, because it's not easy. So way to go, way to hang in there. I know it's been it's never easy. It doesn't matter if you're just waiting to find out about, a little nerve study on your hand, or this or that, or something big and life-threatening. It's always all kind of big. So Indigo asks, I am okay. I was kind of stressing out because I knew that I had this cardiology appointment today, so I was a little bit. I I have been for days, just apprehensive about it because things have not. I knew they were not going well, and at some point you reach the end of the road with what you can do, and I knew when they did the 6 stents in March that they didn't fix everything. It's just not possible. You reach a point where they can only just make a good try. So they were pretty clear to me that they were making a good try with cardiac intervention. And so this is a long answer, and I probably should have said I'm fine. I'm autistic. When you ask me a question, I'm just going to earnestly try to answer it to the best of my abilities, fully, and with all considerations worked into it. So feel free to just give me a little guidance there. But yes, yeah, it is kind of essential. We do need to have we need to have the ticker going, or life becomes very yeah, it's hard. You got to have a heart going. So yeah, and if you have a pencil ready, I'll let you know what my email address is, so you can just get a hold of me. Because I do have a Gmail. I'm going to wait a minute so that the bots can't harvest it quite as easily. And I'll tell you, every time I've mentioned it, it has taken about 30 minutes for me to get some sort of the latest spam I got was one of those, I have taken control of your cameras and I have pictures of you enjoying yourself on porn sites. And I'm like, well, my porn site is jerrysartorama.com, and I get really excited when I see Daniel Smith watercolor paints. So I'm not going to pay $1,400 to Nigeria to keep pictures of my face enjoying art supplies off the internet. But holy crap, why can't we do more to put a stop to the spam? Anyway, the first part of that is just Janelle Art, no underscore. Make sure you spelled Janelle correctly. Just run it all together into one word, and that'll get you to Just me. I feel sorry for people who get those kinds of emails and then just go, oh my God, I'm going to wire money. I've got to put a stop to that. One, because if that's what you're doing with your time, that's your business. And it's terrible that you're being shamed for it. And two, like, who sits and thinks about doing that to other people? This is creepy. Oh, wrong color. Well, okay. You could tell it was raining in Oregon today because the ants, they come inside because their nests get flooded. And come on, buddy. Oh, I know you're going to go report back to the others. Sorry. Yeah, every time we get a good rain, we get ants coming in to say hello. Alrighty. Think I'll just tuck that back up there. We have successfully covered up the drawing rack with little bits of paper, so indulge me a moment here while I tidy up this palette, and we will start in on the Zoisite. Oh, you guys kill me in the comments. Yeah. Yeah, so there's all kinds of colors. There is everything from indigo blue to purple to, I think I've got kind of an acid green pebble painting left. Just, I'm sure we'll find something that you like. No worries, because I pulled a stack. I pulled a stack of 12 for the one fundraiser, and then I pulled a stack of 20 for this fundraiser, and there were still probably 60 or 70 sitting on the end of the bench. So this is what I have come to learn about pebble paintings. We will make more. Alrighty. So I've got a. Gonna make an adjustment here. See if I can put this into frame. Wait a second. That's a little better. It is a fantastic color. So I have learned you can't take the cap off and just get a tiny little dab when you first open these Daniel Smith tubes. When you open them, you better be ready to put that paint in something as it goes. So I'm just going to prep a little half pan here. I buy these bulk. They've got a magnet attached so it'll stick to the metal palette box. And I just use a Sharpie permanent pen. To make note of the pigment information and the company. This is Daniel Smith. This is Zoisite. And I think we have a little look here at the pigments. And it contains genuine Zoisite and gum arabic. The other thing to look for is a light fastness rating and There's Series 4. Light fastness rating 1. That means it's got excellent light fastness. Sometimes I'll put codes on them. Anything that's the PrimaTek is going to just be made of a ground up mineral. And I believe all of the PrimaTek ones are also granulating. So on this end, I'll put the light fast rating and then a G for granulating. That way, when I'm shuffling things around in the palette, I'll know what it is. Because when the paint's dry, they, of course, it doesn't make a run for it. Well, I guess 1 in 15 tubes. And I'll just squirt that out. I see there's a little bit of the gum arabic in the corner. So now is the time to stir that up and get it mixed in. I'll leave this out on the workbench probably for 10 days anyway. And the water will evaporate out of it. Probably not completely, but enough that the paint won't flow out of the pan. And then that can dry down, and then they'll look something like this. It's a bit of a depression in it, but it's slightly sticky, but none of the pigment comes off in my hand. And then that can just go, the magnet will hold it in the pan, or in the palette. So this was the Minnesota pipestone. I put this up in the pan last week. So it's probably been not too long, 5 days or so. So it does dry down. And I'm going to set that aside. A little dab on the palette. And let's see what happens when we mix that with some other colors. Oh, let's use this brush. So it's a fairly greenish color. I'm really going to throw some water on that so we can get the granulation effects working. This is one of my new brushes. It's a mimic brush that is an artificial synthetic, and you know, they're durable, they're inexpensive, they are more ethical certainly than raising animals and then plucking their fur for paint brushes. But I really treasure my vintage natural hair brushes. I'm trying not to grouse about this because it is I think it's a, it's a more ethical choice. But alrighty, so let's try that with bum. We always like a quinacridone gold, don't we? More yellow, more yellow. And then that quinacridone is just going to run for the edges of the wet area. That is a characteristic of the quinacridone colors. I'm gonna throw a little. Just let that do its thing. Hey, buddy. Alrighty. Gonna try that with while we're in the neighborhood of the quinacridones. I've got some quin magenta here. PR202. It's so odd. I hear rain hitting the roof, and so I know there's a lot of humidity in the air, and yet I'm just having a tough time keeping enough water on the paper and in the brush today. You'd think rain it'd be like 100% humidity, but it's not quite. Okay, that's like pink tourmaline. Hi, buddy. Hello. We got the studio cat here making some noise. Alrighty. I think I am falling in love with Viridian recently. It is one of the components of Daniel Smith Moonglow, which is a purple color. Viridian is like verdigris, like the oxidation on copper. And you wouldn't think that this crazy green would turn into a purple, but it's a component of Moonglow. So when I read that, I started to explore it a little bit, and it's it's a lot of fun in mixtures. So yeah, it's really holding its own with that zoisite. Hmm. All right, let's find a good blue. Any requests? Yeah, isn't that fun? So one of the things I noticed about this is there's a shift as it dries down too. It's really um, I have been gave the Zoisite a try. I got the Daniel Smith dot card, the the basic $5 one that's got 66 colors on it. I think I've been showing this on every live stream for the last 2 weeks, but it you can get these basically just a piece of paper and it's got dots of watercolor paint. There's 66 on here. And Zoisite Genuine was one of the ones that I was trying when I was, I think I was doing a live stream with Maya, Allison Art Supply Hoarderland, and we both just kind of went gaga for it. There was just a pretty good sized drop of paint, and I thought, oh, I'll tuck into this one. This is gray. Um, this seems like a good place, you know? And we just had so much fun. You know, the only blue I don't have here is cerulean. How about, I've got cyan, phthalo, Windsor blue red shade. I've got Prussian blue, ultramarine, cobalt. Cobalt might get us in the, and I have genuine cobalt. Do you want to see what that does? Let's try that. So this is PB28, genuine cobalt. Now, anymore, that's kind of the advantage of having some vintage paints, because most of the new ones are cobalt blue hue, and they use I think they're really into a type of a phthalo pigment to try to replicate the shade, the hue of it, but the mixing properties are a little bit different, so. It's pretty middle of the road, sort of a blue. Oh. We got a whole crew of small forest creatures today. Nice. Yeah, so it's a little more intense than cerulean. It's not as subtle as cerulean, but it's a good blue. Let's see where we go with this. Oh, I got a lot of paint. Holy cats. Immediately love it. Mm-hmm. So you can see as these start to dry down, it really shifts it off hue, but it doesn't seem to be terribly green. It just gives it this wonderful granulated texture with this almost I would describe it as a bit of a neutral gray almost. Just Really having some really having some fun with it. Alrighty, shall we get into the Aussie red gold and see where that takes us? Or, oh, you know what I want to try? I have some... I have some rich gold grain from Daniel Smith. That is a rich green gold. I think I said it backwards. And it looks pretty much like a green olive. Hi, pondfish. Hello, hello. But, you see this? Oh boy, the chat's over the top of it. It is translucent, and it's this... I'm going to switch this around so we can... You guys don't have to try to view it over the top of chat. This is why I try to swatch things out, because sometimes when you see them in the pan, they're really vastly different than when you wet them and get the pigment on the paper. It's wild, isn't it? This is a cut off of one of the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks. And I just cut off 1/8 of an inch and dropped it in here, and it wets just like it's a half pan. Go get a bit more in there. Yeah, I took a slice off of almost all of the sticks that I had, and they are pigment plus gum arabic. There's nothing fussy in those sticks at all. And you see, it's a little bit proud of the pan. See, it's domed up a bit, but there's room on the sides, and I haven't had the paint splash down. It's been, it re-wets really easily. I got them online for basically $9.50, and you can get 3.5, at least, half pans. And I think you could also put the tube of paint in half longitudinally, and that would give you 6 half pans. So a lot of paint in it for the price. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh man, really like that. We'll see if I can work right to left, huh? Yeah, we're half an hour past cat food time, so she is letting me know. And those Daniel Smith, quite a few of them will just diffuse throughout the water area, so they're lovely for washes. Those are... I'm gonna have so much fun painting rocks with this new color. Yeah. So I hope that this will illustrate what I was describing, that we've got really bright colors. Let me make a little room here in just a second. So the mass tone, or just the paint on here, undiluted, in these little dots on the side, you can see it's quite bright, and then just a little bit of the Zoisite mixed in just gives us these sort of subtle gradations, and it just doesn't seem like there's much pigment in it when you see it just on its own. So being invaded by ants here. This one? Is this the eggplant color? Yeah, we've used quinacridone magenta to get that mix. So, cobalt. Yeah, well, Pondfish was going to suggest cobalt. It's a good one, right? You can't go wrong with that too much. I'll do a quick flyby of the. I don't think we need to see them all, one by one, but we've got. Boy, I'm gonna have to put down some ant killer. It's just giving me trouble here. So we've got the first wash on a good stash of these bad boys. And, oh no. If I have ants here, it means they've also invaded other areas of my house. Yeah. We got through a good group of these. Oh, buddy. Yeah. And thank you, Jessica, for the suggestion to use graphite. Here's a little sketch. We did a little work, did a little play, and made a little bit of art. I know, ants are just. I live in a place that used to have a lot of agriculture, a lot of fruit trees, and when if you have orchards and fruit trees, you've got ants in the roots. It's just endemic. You really vineyards and fruit trees. So they've long since taken the fruit trees down, and we are left with just ants. So yeah, didn't that turn out great? I used a good old-fashioned Conte crayon and sketched it out and learned a little bit of something. I always learn something for hanging out with you guys. So it's really terrific to spend time with other artists. We don't get enough time to do that, I think. Once we leave school, it's a little bit hard to find that. And I feel like one of the gifts of working on YouTube is getting reconnected with other people who are they're here to have that artist to artist conversation. So what do you guys say? You want to do shall we do a pebble sketch and then we'll wrap it up? Yeah. Oh, still wet. Let's let that dry down. I'll run it past us for the art show before we call it a live stream. Oh, this one's nice and colorful. Go with that. Thank you, Antics. Hi, Dan. Good to see you today. It is. I'm up to all kinds of arty shenanigans. You would think, as many of these as I've done, I would know to give the paper a good working over before I start. It just gets a bit stiff after it's been wet and then dried, so it rocks from corner to corner and it makes it a little bit hard to see. It just does that. And almost every time I have to give it a, I'm not sure what it is, I give it, I just, in my head, I just call it a wimpling. Or de-wimpling, not sure. Just flex it a few times and make it more amenable to to accepting the pen next media in the process. So Dan, I made it to the cardiologist today, and they're not going to schedule another surgical intervention, but we're going to put me through cardiac rehab again. So that was the word there. And I'm okay with that. Even something that's as minimally invasive as having stents placed is still pretty tough to go through. So I also got some directives on some changes that need to happen, and I don't know how closely you guys keep up with my community posts, but I had talked about a bit of a shift and in the focus, just to focus really on the mindfulness and the art content. And that was my gut feeling that that needed to happen, so I got a lot of backup that that was necessary. I was experiencing a lot of stress for some of the other content, other work that I was doing. But we can't do it all. We can only do what we can do. And I find the older I get, the more I have to make a choice about things. I think when you're younger, you can try out all sorts of things to do with your time, and you can switch it around and explore a lot of things, and you have abundant physical resources, and those resources can get narrowed, more circumscribed as we age and as our health, does what it does. I mean, I've been walking this body around the planet for I'm in my 7th decade of life. I'm in my 60s now, and that's okay. I had a grandfather died in his 50s from heart disease, so we can do pretty amazing things to extend our longevity that he didn't have available. But I just offer the share here by way of encouraging you to be deliberate in how you choose to spend yourself. We are not infinite beings, at least not bodily. So make sure you include things that leave you feeling happy, light, fulfilled, replenished. Don't always spend your time, particularly work. Don't work doing things you're not getting paid for. Don't work for things you're not getting some sort of a reciprocity. Spend yourself on your own creative work, at least as much as you're giving it away. Let's just find 6 more tiny little pebbles. Boy, this one's got all the spaces filled out today. It is giving myself some feedback that I need to make some room, that I'm kind of maxed out when everything gets filled up like that. Oh, I love those colors. Yeah, Silly Wabbit, it's good to see you in here again. I'm delighted, delighted to have new subscribers. Well, we've got a group in here, don't we? You guys want another one? I've got a little time. We'll go until the cat just bites my leg off. Yeah. You brought up something, and I'm not going to say the word out loud, but I did discover that the more I did it, the more I got sucked into it, and the more thankless the job became. And I calculated the hours, and I had spent 1 week well over 20 hours just doing that work for other channels. It's quite insidious, and we do seem to have a culture of sort of the old, I call it the mod squad. And, there are folks here, that's their jam. If that's what they want to do and that's what fuels them, that's great. No criticism there. But if it's going to be, I'm not here because I want to be basically a hall monitor. And a lot of the areas where I was doing that work, some of them were absolutely a delight, and I'm fine doing it. But there were some other ones that just were a lot of babysitting and a lot of negativity, and it's just draining. And my interest, and yours may be different, but my interest here is to make content and to share art with folks. It's not to babysit a chat somewhere. So, and that's, like everybody's going to have a different experience. That was mine. And if you share that, I encourage you to just say, I've given what I can. Thank you. No, I'm going to move on. Concentrate on your channel and do that work. If that's what's fueling you, do that work. The reason is there'll be 5 or 7 people, if not more, who step right up, raise their hand, and say they want to do it. So we really don't have a scarcity when it comes to people to do that job. And I've seen folks in our community who are just, they love doing it. It's great. So on this one, because I've got such dark colors, and this was actually ink from a gel pen that had leaked out into the bottom of my pen holder, and I just took a wet brush in there and got some of it out and tried it on the paper. It's got some lovely gradations, some darks and lights. We were talking in the last live stream about media that we could use. One of you generous people in chat said, "Yeah, gel pen." I think it might have been Jen Pup Groomer who said, "Gel pen ink. You can get that wet and use a brush to apply it. Use it like watercolor." So, because it's dark, I'm going to go with a bit of a wider nib on the pen. This is Micron 10. I usually use an 03. So, anyway, for me, I've decided that it is, well, I didn't, my cardiac health has made that decision. And that means more art streams, more doing this thing, more co-streaming with my art buddies. I really enjoy that. Oh, the 10 makes felt pen noises. Jessica, thank you. And Dan K, thank you. Yeah, so the wash of black ink was just literally a Pilot G2. Um, and it's just like the click type gel pen. And I dropped one in without clicking it up into the barrel, so the tip of it was touching the bottom of the pen holder, and it didn't take long. There was a puddle of ink the size of a quarter in the bottom of my uh, pencil holder. And now, of course, when I see how beautifully it shades out, I am wondering which other pens, which other colors I might use. Because gel pens are available in so many colors. But I think we were also talking about rubber stamp inks and um, colored pencils, gel sticks. There's quite a few art supplies can be used multiple ways in mixed media. Mm. Yeah, so somebody's talking about fountain pens, and yeah, a lot of pen ink is really made for dip pens. Those you can always clean. A fountain pen is it can be taken apart and dealt with, but that is a pain in the. You want to use a very fine ink that's specifically designed for fountain pens, or you will foul your pen, and um, it's not impossible to rehabilitate them, but it's time consuming and very messy. So tempting to make a lot of little rocks. Trying to let there be bigger rocks in this composition this time. Tell you, when I'm drawing them, I like making all the circles I can, but when it comes to looking at them later, I like the compositions that have um, a mix of sizes. Oh, we've got Dan out just running for art supplies. uh, hmm. I don't know. I can't. My brain doesn't know what color saguaro wine is, but I bet it's beautiful. Dan is gonna go find a metallic G2 and see what he can do with it. Does she keep it where she? He's gonna go check and see if his lovely wife has one, and my brain just immediately went. It's with the good shears. The don't you dare cut paper with my scissors shears. Do we? Does everybody have those? I know I do. I'm like, nope. Those live in the sewing room. They don't get used for anything except textiles. Now, I have no idea what color I used for the orange here, but it's got this iron oxide look to it that is working wonderfully, I think. My brain is my brain is enjoying these rust and gray pebbles. Oh, Jessica, I just like you more and more every time you come in here. I just go, boy, that Jessica. Yeah, oh yeah, don't mess with my trim snips at all. That's a whole other story. And Dan says Mrs. Dan has a whole room of stuff he's not allowed to play with, and scissors are one of those things. Exactly. I think it's the foundation of a good relationship if you could just keep your tools and keep your partner from raiding and swiping your tools. That's a healthy boundary is what that is. Nothing wrong with it. I think a lot of us learned the hard way because we might have borrowed mom's scissors and dared to cut paper with them. That would get you grounded. And not grounded in a nice Zen way, but in a go to your room and think about what you did sort of a way. Oh, I do remember that. And I do also remember telling you you needed to go get yourself a good pair of Fiskars. So I'm glad to hear. Dan says that he was struggling to cut some fabric on one of his when he was finishing the jewelry box that he was making. And um, yeah, that's no fun struggling to get the scissors to work. So, yay, yay. Fiskars will stay useful for a long time. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna check back. You guys have just been rolling the chat like crazy. I gotta scroll back and make sure I didn't miss something fun. Hmm. Yeah, Jessica not sharing the art supplies. Good, you hold strong. Yeah, there's a ton of inks. It used to be you had like a water soluble ink and you had a permanent ink, and now you've got everything like this cartooning ink, and I sometimes use this for the highlights on the pebbles. Not a lot though. I got it and it's really harshly brilliantly white. So if you're looking for that, the Kuretake 30 white ink, it's for um, it says for highlights and corrections, and it is very opaque. It would definitely work over for corrections. Oh, good God. She did almost turned you into a shop teacher. That's horrible. Oh. Jessica is spoiling her bulldog by keeping it at 70. Yeah. You do. This is how we know you're. Yeah, I think it's genetically coded on our uh, on our DNA for. Uh, we hide our fabric scissors. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad Wabbit took a look at Dan's shop. I love that. Yeah, they are. They just the Fiskars do a good job, and they just keep a nice, usable. Um, a nice usable sharp edge there. So Silly Wabbit says, I still have my mom's shears hidden and I haven't used proud. She would. Yeah. Oh, well, that is where we put the precious stuff and the aid. Actually, we don't have to do that anymore. I live in one of those states that has decided to go our own way. I actually have, I use Fiskars. Well, these are DuraSharp. This has been a really good pair for me, too. DuraSharp. If you can find them, they've got a nice smooth action and they keep their edge. And then Fiskars make, now they make everything from trim snips to yard tools and shears. And these guys have a, I don't know if you can, if I can get it to focus, but they've got a, the point is machined down so it's just very narrow at the very tip and it just gets in for snipping stuff. And um, I do some collage work, so I like those guys. And they'll set you back a little bit more than that packet of two that look just like Fiskars, but they really perform heads and shoulders above the knockoffs. So I would say if you're doing much crafting or art that requires use of scissors, do yourself a favor and spend a little extra, get a good pair. Oh, well, Dan, this is why Dan is, happy in his home because he, to be fair, he says it was his fault. He had something leaning against the door and he had earbuds in and she knocked it over and scared the crap out of him mid. I don't know. You might have to get some of those parabolic mirrors so you move into your zone there. Um, nice. Oh my golly. Dan, how was this recently? I'm appalled. Shocked and appalled. It's all fun and games joking about, a new vocation for you until something actually hits the spinning saw blade. And then, okay, good. He says he's learned. He keeps the door clear now. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to be doing anything like that on a live stream. You get all the wrong kind of views. Also, I'm pretty sure YouTube would make you take that down. I try to stick to things that are relatively hazard free. Find myself to be. I identify as clumsy. But it really turned around, didn't it? We looked at it at first and it was just ambiguous and messy, and you throw a few lines around it and things really coalesce. I just find this so satisfying to do. Yeah, Antics, I think you were here last time when we did have Dan's link up, so. If you go check my community tab, Antics, you will find a you'll find a post or two that refer back to Dan's channel. Uh, the name of his channel is Elegant Woodcraft. He has a couple of channels there. Yep. They're going so smoothly today. I think I will just do one more drawing. I've been I used the graphite Gansai Tambi Japanese watercolor on this, and I've been kind of had it set aside um, to work with. I've already burnished the areas of paint, so yeah, let's just see where this goes. And I think I love that Conte crayon. I may just come back in after it. I'll get the outlines and drop in some line work with that. See, I'm learning. Nice. I love amethyst. It's the perfect shade of purple. I have a big chunk of amethyst crystal. It was, I bought it for my mom. She really fell in love with this chunk of crystal that was at a gift show, and I snuck back when she was doing something else and bought it wholesale, and it sat on her desk at the flower shop for quite a few years, and after she passed away, I was got some of her things and went, okay, that's mine now. It just floors me when I think about, I look at the crystals. I don't know, I'm not like a crystal woo woo, let's set this out in the moon and do that. No shade on you if that's what your jam is. I come at it from a rock hound sort of a perspective. Have always loved picking up rocks. My grandparents were rock hounds. We would always look for agates on the beach or go to places and look for obsidian or cool chunks of this or that mineral. But as I'm gazing at these crystals and I think, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, I don't know. I don't know how long it took for them to precipitate out and to manifest in the way that they did, and how 10,000 years from now, if we're long gone, that chunk of crystal is still going to be pointy and well, it might get tumbled down a river, might not be pointy, but it'll still be purple and beautiful. And it just kind of helps give me a little bit of perspective, I think, when things are feeling a little too intense. And then I just remember, oh, yeah, the human lifespan, like, it's a blink. And this pretty rock that's here in my hand, man, that's going to endure. Whew, I've been a bit existential today. Hope that's not bumming you guys out too much. It's alright, some days are like that. Oh, I do want to share something with y'all though. Saturday, Saturday is the winter solstice. I want to get you hyped up about it. As on Sunday, we'll have more hours of daylight, just a few minutes more than we did the day before. And then from then on out till June, a little more daylight each day. You've done a terrific job hanging in there. We are just in the darkest. If you're in the northern hemisphere, if you're in the southern hemisphere, other way around. But if you're up here in the northern hemisphere and you're feeling like the days are closing in and things are just, there's a bit of urgency, it is literally just the way we're moving around the sun, the tilt of the earth. And that's going to ease up. So if you've been feeling kind of like things are dark and dreary, hang in there. Just a few more days, it's going to start lighting up again. We're almost through it. Okay, that was a little bit woo-woo. Just a little. Huh. Every time I see her, she gives me a piece of rose quartz to put in my pocket. She says, "You need to carry this with you. This is helpful for your heart energy." And I do. It's a nice little piece. I tuck it into my coin purse, and I just do because it's a beautiful pink, shiny thing. And I sometimes will get it out to distract myself when I'm in a waiting room or whatnot. So I'm not sure that old rock cares about me, my cardiac situation, but it's shiny and polished, and it feels lovely in my fingers, and like the cardiologist being 45 minutes late. That guy. So I don't know. Gee, my friend might be right. Who can say? Oh, Wabbit, I'm so glad. Wabbit says, if you could see the bottom of the bowl, you'll regret it. Oh, isn't that the truth? She does. She has a built-in alarm system for when things are. It could be. It's a cat food emergency is. Um, oh, it's imminent. It'll be catastrophic and terrible. We can't let it happen. Hmm. All right, buddy. Yes, you are correct. It is kitty dinner time. If I affirm you, will you stop biting me? Yeah, good job. I'll bring my thumbs right over. I'll be right there. Alrighty, you guys want to have another look at those Zoisite swatches now that they've dried down a bit? Woo. Alrighty. So here it is, just plain. It's such an unassuming. Like I don't even. It's not really beige, it's not really green, it's not really gray. It's just extremely neutral in a very, yeah, it's just rock colored. So here we are with the quinacridone gold, and then it takes that sharp artificial brightness out of it into almost, it reminds me of citrine, right? The quartz that's golden colored. And here with the quinacridone magenta, the color looks like pink tourmaline. We went with Viridian. That looks like fluorite, the green of fluorite. Try not to knock over the water here. We had cobalt. It looks like sapphire to me. It's just gorgeous. Dan asked, what's that type of paint? In watercolor, it's granulating paint. And then our final color here was the Daniel Smith Rich Gold Green, which, let me get it right this time. Rich Green Gold. And it just resembles peridot. Might be a bit yellow. But yeah, something, the mineral olivine and the gem quality variation of olivine, the one that's clear, is faceted and sold as peridot. Pretty fun. I had fun. Thank you guys for spending time with me and for hanging out and chatting and giving each other some helpful advice and some encouragement. It's really terrific. Yeah. Boy, I always love purple. We got in three good pebble drawings today. That's good work. Yeah, it just the little pieces of pigment form together into granules. So little molecules clustering together into granules. And then we just did a whole bunch of blanks. The first, there's a teal one. Let's throw that one up there. Yeah. Oh, Dan, thank you so much. Yeah, when I can find a good signal at this time of day, I love to do it. I think I started out like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. West Coast time. So this was a time block that the analytics were telling me that a lot of you guys were online, and so I wanted to try to meet you where you were if I could, and so I'm quite glad to be here, and I'm grateful for your company. I would appreciate it if you haven't done so. If you just double tap that screen, it'll give me a like, and that'll help move this video out a little bit more broadly. Oh, I don't know, Jessica. I don't know if Jessica's still here. Boy, that's something, isn't it? We're gonna do some more with this graphite paint from Gansai, from Kurataki's Gansai Tambi line, and maybe a little bit more with the gel pen ink. That gets us into the mixed media area. Yeah, it did. It just it's just making my brain just really happy to see that, and to see just all these lovely gradations. Just one brush stroke of paint, and it just does all of the work. If I was using a different media, I would have to come in and lay down these darker areas and washes. So it's always fun to find a paint that'll just do some work for you. I think that's why I'm so excited about this Zoisite. So We filled that pan earlier. You can already see it's starting to settle down in the pan and smooth out. So once that dries down, we'll just be able to in the palette with it, use it. I'm gonna use it like crazy on the big rock paintings. So there's Dan. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you, everybody. Um, and I'll throw out another thank you to Replay Crew. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun. It's always good fun when we've got new art supplies. And I will see you all next time. Keep making art, keep being kind to yourself, and keep the lookout for other fellow artists. Yeah. Oh, I'll checking the chat. Yeah, Wabbit. Dan has two channels, so he's in here as Elegant Woodcraft as well as Dan K. So, yep, he likes to double up on the likes. Yeah. All right, we've got you've got some rough weather in Pennsylvania. Hope you're hope you guys. Yeah, no antics. That's fine. We're good. All right. If I don't see you in here on another live stream, I'll see you on Saturday over at Dan's. Take care, everybody.